Well, welcome to the Book Spot. Welcome back to the Book Spot. This is a spot where people get their books written. And folks, I have an awesome, extraordinary guest tonight who has done some really great work, who I believe is going to inspire you to get your book written. And it's none other than Miss Odessa Rose. She's the author of the critically acclaimed novel Water in a Broken Glass. And she's going to come on in just a second. I want to read her bio for you. Odessa Rose is the author of the critically acclaimed novel Water in a Broken Glass, which is now an award winning film of the same title. Rose's second novel, In the Mirror, received the African American Expo Award for Fiction. She received her BA in English from Coppin State University and her MA in Literature from the University of Maryland at College Park. Rose is a member of the Black Writers Guild of Maryland. She owns and operates an online used bookstore. Rose lives in her hometown of Baltimore with her husband and their three children. And so, without further ado, Miss Odessa Rose,
Hi, Joseph. How are you?
how are you? How
I'm
are
great.
Great, great to have you on the book spot tonight. And just want to kind of talk about your journey, talk about just your whole writing career and some of the works that you've done. My first question was, uh, or is, when did you first realize you wanted to be a writer?
When I was 9 years old.
Nah.
Yeah, yeah. My mother kept us in the bookstore all the time because she's an avid reader. She raised us. I always tell people she raised us on horror, on mainly Stephen King. She's a horror fanatic,
Okay.
and she would get the books, read them to us, or tell us some of the scenes in the book. So, we're just sitting there, me and my sisters, just captivated by and scared by the stories she was telling us. And she, there's always books. Every time we went out, we had to go into we were either in the bookstore or in the fabric store because she sewed also.
Okay.
So yeah, we just stayed in the bookstore all the time. And one evening, I was sitting on the porch. It was one of those times where the street lights on, so you're on the porch. And my mother and father was sitting on the porch, and I was reading one of my mother's Reader's Digest magazines. And there was a story. I can't remember what the story was, but whatever it was, I just turned after I finished reading. I turned around and told my mom and my dad, I want to be a writer. And my mom said, "Well, write, baby." And so I started writing.
That sounds like a good way to start it out.
Hmm.
Um, what is your work schedule like when you're writing?
Uh, I keep trying to change it, but I think it's just stuck that way now. I was writing when I was a kid, but you had more time. But after I got older, and I started writing my first book while I was at Coppin State, and so I was going to school, working, and writing this book. So I would write it at night after I finished everything I had to do, after work, and then my school work, and then I would work on it, when I got a chance. And then we had our first son, and so the only time I could write was when everybody was asleep for a couple reasons. Of course, one was everybody was asleep. The other reason is it was the only time I didn't feel guilty as a mother and as a wife. If the family's up, you feel like you're supposed to be there. So, and I wanted to be there. And I mean, it wasn't even that, I didn't want to be, just that's just what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
And also, I would feel guilty if I did something else. So I would write after everybody went to sleep. So I would start writing around midnight and then write till about 2 o'clock and then go to bed. So unfortunately, I am still stuck in that schedule, and our children are grown. um, but I can't get out of that mode of I'll take a nap. I'll take a nap probably around 10:30, and I'll sleep till 12. And then I get back up and start writing. But I'll write till about 2, sometimes 3 o'clock now because I don't want to stop. And then I go back to sleep, but I have to get up at 6 because I got to go to work.
Oh, boy. So writing takes some commitment, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
Some
it does.
commitment.
It
Takes some
does.
commitment.
A whole lot of commitment.
Yeah. So those of you who are watching this, you got questions, comments, feel free to type them in, and we'll get right to you. I want to get into some of your work. So,
Mm.
Water and a Broken Glass, a novel. So tell us a little bit about this.
About the novel itself.
Yeah.
Okay, Water in a Broken Glass takes place in Baltimore. I said most of my books in Baltimore, mainly because I want to just tell a different story about Baltimore, show it in a different light. I don't think there's anything wrong with the other stories that are out there, but I want to tell a different one. Um, all voices are needed and valued. So I just want to show a different side of Baltimore. So it takes place in Baltimore during the 80s, and it's about a young sculptor named Tanya Mims who finds herself attracted to another student when she's in high school. And she doesn't really want to deal with those feelings, so she buries them deep inside her artwork, and she's able to kind of run from it. Well, around 10 years later, and she's at the height of her career, she meets a guy named Malcolm Holland, and all those feelings from high school go away, and she finds herself in love with a guy for the very first time in her life, and she's happy. And a few weeks later, she meets a woman, a bookstore owner named Satin Pierce, and all those feelings she had from high school come rushing back, only this time she can't sculpt them away, she can't hide from them, so she has to deal with them. So that's what Water in a Broken Glass is about.
Awesome. Awesome. And not only is this a novel, uh, I came to see it as a movie.
Yeah.
so it was a very good movie, a very good movie at the Senator. So how did that happen? How did your book become a movie?
I always say God because I didn't expect it at all. It was just, you know, I I can tell you what happened. I can't tell you. The only thing I can say is, it's just God put things in place. The book came out in 2000, and in 2006, I received an email from a woman named Jamel Thomas, and she said that she was a film student and she would like to acquire the film rights for Water. She said she had read it. She was out in California. A friend of hers gave her the book, and I didn't know the friend either. I didn't know anyone involved in this whole process. But Jamel was going through her own issues of trying to sort out her feelings as far as her sexuality, and her friend had read my book and said, "Here, read this." And Jamel liked the book, and so that's when she reached out to me and asked if she could acquire the film rights. Well, Water was, I didn't self-publish Water. It was traditionally published, so we had to go through the publisher to get so that he would give her the rights to do it, and that took some doing.
Mhm.
That whole process was just crazy, but he ended up finally giving her the rights to do the film, and that was in well, she approached us in 2006, and then I think it took maybe 6 months of them going back and forth with the contract before he agreed to it. But then um, we didn't. I mean, in 2006, and then we didn't. She. I'm not gonna say we. She didn't actually start filming until 2016. Well, 2020. Yeah, 2016.
Mm-hmm.
That's when she actually started filming the film, and it took a couple times. Like she started in April, and then something happened with the cast, and so she had to stop and shut it down, and then she had to recast and started filming again in September of 2016.
Okay. So what's behind your motivation to write?
I just like telling stories, and I like playing with words. I don't know what it is about words. I just like playing with them. I like telling a good story, and it's just fun to me. It's fun telling a story. And I also found out that people would ask me why I write certain things, and I always say, "Oh, I just like it." But also, it helps me make sense of what's going on in the world. Things that I don't really understand, it helps me to kind of figure it out. Um, I think that's mainly it. I'm trying to just figure something out, trying to figure out why things are the way they are, and so that's why I write mainly. But the main thing is I love it. It's fun. And then I discovered later, actually after Water came out, that I just I'm trying to figure something out and trying to just process some kind of issue or whatever. I and I learned that when people started asking me why don't I write horror, since I love horror, I watch horror, I read horror, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't write it. I write the stuff that I don't want to go see, which is crazy. I don't. I focus on life issues, relationships, and things like that, but I don't necessarily want to read that stuff. I want to escape from all of that reality and I use horror to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I write.
Okay. Now you did another book,
Oh, that's my yeah.
In the Mirror.
In the mirror, in the mirror. I love in the mirror. in in the mirror is about a physical therapist named Jasmine Falls. Jasmine falls in love with a guy, and he's married. Daniel Roberts. He's married and has two children, and she gets involved with him, going against everything she's ever been raised to do. And and her mother and father, she doesn't tell her mother and father that she's messing around with a married guy. Her best friend knows that she is, and she doesn't approve of it. So she decides that she decides to try to prove to everyone that this guy loves her. And he loves her, not his wife, even though he's been married to this woman for 15 years and they have two kids. So what she decides to do is to break into their house and hide in the house and just observe him with his family, so she can say, okay, I have proof that he doesn't really love his wife and that he loves me, and once the kids are grown or whatever, then we're going to be together and it's going to be okay. So she breaks in the house on a Monday and she leaves on a Saturday, and the question is, does she see what is meant to be or what never should have been? So that's a really fun book. I had a good time writing that book. And
Wow.
that one came out of the blue because I was working on Kismick's Journey when that idea came. And I thought initially I was just going to just write it down. As a writer, you get an idea and say, let me just write this down so I don't forget it.
Right.
And it wouldn't leave me alone until I finished the book. So there it is.
Yeah, it sounds intriguing. Sounds
And the,
very
the,
intriguing.
the cool thing is that that's the third cover. And the person that's on the cover now is Tawny Belafonte. She played Satin in the movie version of Water in a Broken Glass.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. And all your books are available where?
Um, Amazon, on my website, and Kismick's Journey is now. I used Ingram as well, so that bookstores can order it. So also you can get it in the library, those kind of things. So I just made sure that I use Ingram this time so that bookstores, because I know a lot of bookstores, if they want to order, that's where they order it.
Okay. And how long does it take you to write a book? You
Forever.
out there listening? You out there listening and saying, it may take a long time. Tell us about that.
It takes me forever. I get so jealous because I have friends. I have a friend. Her name is Tina Arthur. She goes by the name AC Arthur. Tina writes a book. I swear, at least she writes a book a week. I don't know how she does it. She put up today that she finished a book. But she writes romance. She writes paranormal. Her main thing is romance, but
Okay.
she just wrote a contemporary book, and she just writes and writes. She writes stuff for Hallmark. She just writes and writes and writes, and I can't write like that
Mm,
to save my soul. And I have other friends that they just pump the books out. It takes me forever to write a book. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
mhm.
And when I'm done, I'm happy with it. But I'm
Okay.
like, why can't I just pump it out? Why can't I just let it go? But that's just I've learned that that's just my process, and to not worry about it. So, and I'm also doing so many other things.
Ah,
I'm never just writing.
okay.
And I tried to just write, but that's not. I don't think I'm just built to just write. Like even now, I said, okay, when I was writing Kismick's Journey and In the Mirror, my husband and I started a television show called This Is Baltimore Too, and we basically doing mini documentaries on people in the city because we wanted to show again a different side of Baltimore. Because I just got tired of all I just get tired of hearing all the negative stuff, and I'm like, there are great people here, there are great things going on. So my husband and I started doing that. So I'm writing this book. I'm doing This Is Baltimore Too. Of course, I'm working and we have our family and things like that. So that's why it takes me so long to write. And I don't think I'll ever be able to just sit and write and not do anything else. So I mean, even like when I decided to really focus on Kismick's Journey, and that was after the film. After I was on set, Jamel let me be on set, which was they generally don't want the author to be on set because we will be looking at it and going, that's not my work or whatever.
Mhm.
We have some kind of have a little dispute about what's going on, but I didn't mind. I was just happy to be there. So but I noticed that the actors act I mean that's all they did. They went from one gig to the next, and they were really focused on acting. And I said, well, I need to really focus on writing if I'm going to do that. And that's the way Tina is. Tina, she just writes. Her whole thing is writing. And every author that I know that's able to get their work out, they just write. So I decided that for Kismick's Journey, I was just going to write. And I
Mm,
was actually working on another book. I was working on a book called The Subway when I decided to really, really focus on Kismick's Journey and get it out there. So I stopped doing This Is Baltimore Too. And I miss it to this day. We still have the website and stuff, and I still go on there because I don't really want to give it up. But it's hard for me to do both because we were interviewing and I do all the editing and things like that. So I write the scripts, all of that stuff. So it's a little hard to do both. And I asked myself, what do you want to do? Do you want to be a talk show host, or do you want to be a novelist? And I want to be a novelist, so I had to kind of choose, and that was really hard. It was a hard decision, but um, it's the one that I needed to do. It's the one that I really, really want. I said, which one do you really, really want to do?
right.
I remember Toni Morrison saying that she had written down, she sat down one day and wrote down everything that she did in the day, and then decided which of these things that she wanted to do that she couldn't live without. And she said, take care of her children and write. And so that's what she did. And anything else that got in the way of that, she didn't do. She was
Mm,
able to.
mm,
So, and I also remember Will Smith, he said that his son Jaden told him, because he was torn between rapping and acting.
okay.
And so he said that he had to make a choice. Which one was he going to do? Was he going to be a rapper or an actor? He decided to put the rapping down and focus strictly on his acting. And that's how he got to where he wanted to be. So, so I got Kismic Journey out. I in 2019, I decided that nothing was going to stop me from getting Kismic Journey out, and I was going to write it and get it out, and that was that. And so that's what I did, and I focused all my attention, all my energy on that, and anything that didn't help with that, I put to the side.
Great. So tell us about it. Tell us
Kismic's
about
Journey,
yeah,
that's my
yeah.
baby. I've been working on Kismic's Journey off and on. Believe it or not, I got the idea for Kismic's Journey when Water came out in 2000. It was like Water came out in September of 2000, and in October of 2000, the idea for Kismic's Journey came. But something was always getting in the way of this book. No matter what I did, something got in the way. But Kismic's Journey is about a 12-year-old girl who does not want to grow up. She's a tomboy. She likes hanging out with the guys. She likes riding her bike. She likes playing Scully. She likes, playing football, basketball, baseball, all those fun things. And so she's like, she does not want to grow up because she sees growing up as the end of her life. It's going to destroy everything that she loves. And she feels that way because of what goes on with her sister once once her sister starts going through puberty. So she's just like, I don't want any part of that. I'm just going to ride my bike. I'm going to hang out with my friends, and that's that. Well, of course, puberty does happen, and so she's devastated, and but she has to make this decision. She decides, and she decides if she's going to just lay down and just take this, or is she going to fight. And she decides to fight, and the way that she fights is she decides she's going to take this summer to live out her childhood on her terms. And so that's what it's about. And it takes place in Baltimore during the 70s, 1970s.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I think I may have asked this, but I'll just ask it again. Where do you get the information or ideas for your books?
Um, Most of them just come in my, I don't know where they come from. Even with water came for there are two things that happened when I decided to write Water. One was I got this phone call one morning. I was on my way to work, and got this phone call, and the woman had the wrong number, and neither one of us realized she had the wrong number. Finally, from the things she was saying, I was like, oh, this. I thought it was a friend of mine playing jokes on me, and I don't know who she thought I was, but after after about like 2-3 minutes of the conversation, it's like, oh, this is the wrong number. So I hung up, and the call just stayed with me. And then I had a friend who let me know that she was gay, and it seemed everybody else knew that she was, but I didn't know. And it wasn't that I had a problem with it. I was just like, well, if she were, she would tell me because we were friends. But she told me that she didn't tell me because she thought I wouldn't be her friend anymore. So I was kind of trying to figure out, why would she think that I wouldn't be her friend anymore because of that? And
Mhm.
so it was, that kind of thing. So from those two things, for whatever reason, Tanya Mims pops in my head, and I start writing this story. And so that's how Water came about. In the Mirror came about. My mother was in the hospital, and I was driving to see her, and for some reason Jasmine Falls popped in my head. I wasn't really thinking about a book about infidelity. I always did have questions about it. I was always like, why do people cheat, when all you got to do is just, tell the person you don't want to be with them anymore. So but for some reason Jasmine Falls pops in my head, and I'm driving, and so I'm like, okay, all right, okay. And then her voice just stayed until I finished that book.
Mm.
And then Kismic Journey, like I said, Water had just come out, and for some reason this little girl popped in my head, and there's this story there. So I don't know where it comes from.
But it sounds like it comes and you can't let it go.
Yeah. Whenever it is, whatever it is, whenever it comes, I just gotta go with it.
Okay. So, what do you think makes a good story? If you're out there listening, please
Mm.
submit your questions, comments. Dustin Rose is here. Bye.
What makes a good story?
Yeah.
For me, just something, just making sure that people like your characters or hate your characters.
Mm.
Um, a lot of people don't like Tanya. And so, but for whatever reason, they identify with her, but they don't like her. They don't like the way she acts. They don't like the way she does certain things, but they understand her, and so they stick with her and they stay with her. So um I think you just have to have characters that people are either going to love or they're going to hate, or they can't be lukewarm. Some, I don't know if you've watched The Walking Dead or not. I I I'm a big Walking Dead fan, and last night was the series finale. It ended, but one of the big thing, one of the main characters for the last few years is this guy named Negan, and Negan was this awful man, but you loved to hate him. You
Okay.
watched every week so that you could just hate him and see what else he was going to do. But the other thing is, they wouldn't let you hate him. He did
Mm.
these horrible things, but he had this, I don't know what it was about him, that he would say certain things, he would do things, but you liked him. And you weren't supposed to. I mean, he did something awful to one of our favorite characters, and we're just like, why do we even like this man? And even last night for the finale, you love this guy, But I mean, he's just awful. But you love that kind of character. You want somebody that people can root for, somebody that either they're going to say they're going to be fussing at the book the whole time, going, why are they
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
it?
yeah,
Why?
yeah.
You want them to be engaged. So that's what makes a good story. Writing characters that are going to make you say, why are they doing that? I mean, as bad, as cliche as it is, horror movies, somebody's always going to fall, or they're going to go in the room. Why are they going in that room? You know they're
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
go in
that's
the room.
tough. Like, that's crazy. I wouldn't do
Don't go in
that.
the room. Yeah.
Right.
But
Right.
we wait for them to go in the room, and then we fuss about them going in the room. And then when they get killed or whatever happens, it's like, ah. So
Hmm.
it's definitely that character, making sure that people can relate to the character. Either the character is going to do something that they would do, or the character is going to do something that they wouldn't do at all. And so, and and the stuff that they wouldn't do is probably something that they want to do but they can't do. You know,
Ah, okay.
with In the Mirror, I wanted to show a different side of the other woman.
Okay.
Every story about the other woman, you want her dead. The movie Fatal Attraction,
Yeah.
you want her dead. Every movie about the other woman, they forget the guy. It's like, okay, she couldn't be the other woman unless this guy,
Hmm.
participated. She didn't
Yeah.
beat him over the head,
Yeah.
but by
Yeah.
the end of the story, they always want the other woman dead. And so I was like, but she's somebody's mother, she's somebody's sister, she's somebody's cousin, aunt, best friend. Who is the other woman? Why does she settle for this position that she puts herself in? And how does she survive in that position? And so I know that people have um, this hatred for the other woman. And so I wanted to see who this other woman, who is the other woman, and how does she survive, and what would you do? Things like that. So,
Okay.
and so with Jasmine, people always say Jasmine's crazy, and I say no, she's not crazy. She's in love, and they're like, she's crazy, stuff
All
like
right.
that. But they connect with her either because they wouldn't do what she did, or they have done it, and they're trying to figure out, what do I do,
Okay.
and that was one of the things with Water. um, one of the things I wasn't prepared for when Water came out was the response I was going to get, and the mail that I got, where it was women asking me what they should do, because they were like, oh, I'm married, but I think I'm gay and I need to do this. What do you think I should do? And I was kind of, I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't know that people would take the book like that. And so it, you know, I kind of shied away from trying to tell people what to do because I didn't feel like I was qualified. Because for me, I just wrote this story, but the story I wrote was so real to people that they
Was
they
looking for
wanted me to
help.
give them advice, and they
Yeah.
can help.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
got to be careful with your fiction because for you it's fiction, but for other people it's real. You're tapping into something that
Yeah.
that you may not understand that that's what you're doing.
So let me jump in here. We've been getting some comments.
Okay.
So Miss Corey says she's looking forward to reading your books, and she plans to tell her friends and coworkers about Odessa and her books. Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you, Corey. And then we got some questions here. Christopher Boyd says, "What did you do in the meantime while waiting for your book to get edited?"
um I did the editing.
Mm.
So I didn't send it off to anyone else. And so it's just me editing. It's I what I do have beta readers so that they can help me find the mistakes and the gaps, and if something doesn't flow, if something doesn't make any sense, things like that. Because you do need other eyes on your work because you just know it and you're very close to it, and and somebody may see something that you don't see. So in the meantime, I'm editing.
So I never heard the term beta readers. Help us out with what that means.
It's just somebody that you get to read your book so
Okay.
that they're going to read it to see how it flows.
Mm.
But it has to be somebody that's a reader and somebody that's going to be really, really honest with you and say, okay, this doesn't make any sense, or why are you doing this? And you can take their suggestions or not, but it's always good to have that other's perspective just in case, and to make you think.
Mm.
When Water was written, they I had like three editors, and some of the questions they asked actually made the book better because it made me take things out and put things in,
Hmm.
or and some things I had to just fight for and say, okay, no, this makes sense, and so I was able to keep it. So things like that. So if
Yeah.
you have somebody else read your work, and it could just be two or three people, but two or
Hmm.
three people that are going to be brutally honest with you, not to just be mean or anything, but to say, hey, I really don't understand this, or and just question you, and that'll help you, really think about why a scene is there, or why is this person there, and do they function, and also to catch the things that you don't catch.
Okay. Then another question here says, "Have you written your personal story?"
No, because my life ain't that interesting. There's nothing. Kismick's Journey, I would say, is the closest to a personal story I've written, and it's mainly because it takes place in my old neighborhood. And what else? I did talk about my uncle who passed away, Reverend Douglas Miles. He passed away last year, so um, I put him in the book. But my life is there's nothing to my life. And I remember Tony K. Bambara. She had this. She has a book called Gorilla My Love, and in the beginning, she has a thing that she calls a sort of preface, and she talks about how she doesn't write autobiographical fiction because it doesn't pay. Because she says what's going to happen is your mother's going to call you up and start fussing at you because they're going to say, "Oh, while I was out trying to make sure you had food on the table and a roof over your head, you were fooling around with that little boy down the street, and then your girlfriend's not going to come, but she's going to walk by your house, and you're going to be like, hey, why you didn't stop it? Where you going?" And they're mad because they say that the character looks and sounds just like them, and you're not even giving me any royalties, and you're using my image and things like that. So I just don't. Yeah, I don't do that.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any suggestions to help someone become a better writer? If so, what are they?
Definitely just read a lot. Um,
Mm.
just read anything that you can read and just pay attention to how the author is able to do certain things. And you can also watch film to see how a movie comes for one of the things with The Walking Dead, that I love that they did last night. There's a character named Gabriel. He's a priest, and when the apocalypse first started happening, he went to his church, and what he did was his parishioners came to the church and he didn't open the doors. He didn't unlock the doors and let them in. And so he felt guilty about that all this time. So last night for the finale, it was kind of the same situation, and it came back full circle where he unlocked the doors and let some folk in. I don't want to give too much away because some people may not have watched it, but they kind of bring his story full circle. So you want to pay attention to your story. Where's your character, and where do you want them to be by the end of the book? When I wrote Water, it had a totally different ending. um, and um, but when I rewrote it, I was trying to keep that same ending, but Tanya said she didn't want to be that person. So I had to actually change the ending that I had because she was like, "No, I don't, that's not who I am now." And so you
Mhm.
have to pay attention to your characters and what they want and who they are as you go through the book. Um what else? I definitely, like I said, read, pay attention to your characters, write as often as you can.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah,
have to have this strict regimen of, oh, I gotta write every day, because sometimes I don't write every day.
okay.
I will have a notebook. I always have a notebook. I always have a journal, and I'll write. But if you're really in your story, you're writing that story whether you're sitting at the computer or not. And by the time you're able to get to the computer, you're just so excited to get it. You're writing all day long. You're writing in your sleep. I mean,
Mm,
I dreamed about these characters because they don't let you go, and they seem so real.
mm,
And
okay.
that's how you know when you're dreaming out about that character and you're thinking of that character, and that character feels so like a real person. That's when you know you have a good story and you're doing what you're supposed to do. The other thing is
Good. That's
I
good.
learned. I'm sorry.
I said that's good. That's good.
I learned this while rewriting Kismick's journey. I would try to sit at the computer and try to force something, and when it wouldn't come, I would just keep trying to make myself do it and just stay there, and I would write crap. And now I've learned, just get up and walk away. If it doesn't come, just walk away. And nine times out of ten, for me, every time I walked away, when I came back, I was able to write the sentence that was eluding me that whole time. Um,
It's good.
and don't compare yourself. Even though I said that I look at my friends, the younger me did that. Like I could joke about my friend AC Arthur writing her books now, and I don't. It doesn't really bother me. But back then, I was like, man, why can't I write that fast? And da 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 da. You are you, and they are they. That's who they are. That's their process. And so once I came to terms with that and stopped comparing my journey to somebody else's and wanting to pump out books, and because that kind of stopped me too, because I'm so busy trying to hurry up and write this book, and that's just not my problem. I don't write that fast. I just don't. And I'm always happy when I finish. Um, I'm never happy when I hurry up and just write a sentence. I'm Because it's not what I want, and I have to go back and fix it anyway. So that's I think I mean there's so many things I could tell you, but
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the main things. Definitely read, definitely write, talk to other authors. Because you're not alone. You're gonna feel like you're alone, and that you're the only one that's going through this, and your story's not coming the way you want it to come, and just you're not alone.
Okay. So the book spot is here to help people get their books written. And I think you've kind of said some nuggets for someone like in the writing process, what would you say for somebody who says, I want to write a book? You know, I've always wanted to write a book. What kind of advice would you say to them?
Just like my mother told me, right, baby, just write. Um, Wanting to write it is great, but it's not going to get written by you wanting to do it.
Mm.
And it's scary sitting down in front of this computer or just having a blank sheet of paper. But just start writing. It doesn't have to make sense. When I started most of my books, I know what the ending is. I don't know. The beginning is always hard for me. And so I'll just start writing. Within the mirror, I just started writing. And you get that first draft down, you get that first thing out of your head, because that's all you got to do is just get it out of your head. And if it's just 3 or 4 pages, you just got it out of your head. And then you go back and you start filling in the gaps. And there was this one thing Stephen King would say, after you finish, after you write a book, sit it down for, he would say something crazy like 3 4 months, that kind. I'm not gonna let it sit that long, but you do need to just back out and yeah, get it out of your head. Yep, you need to back away from it for a little bit and then come back, because then your mind will be fresh. You're not tired, and then you can just look at it and say, okay, where am I gonna go from here? And just know that writing, unfortunately, is rewriting and rewriting and rewriting. um, Even if if you, let's say you write your book and an agent takes it or a publisher takes it, you're going to rewrite that book again. They're going to take it and they're going to say, okay, this is what we want you to change, and then you got to rewrite it. So so just be prepared to be right and right and right. But you also have to know when to let it go, when you know it's done. So that's the other thing.
Yeah, I like that. Sometimes people don't feel that completeness,
Mm-hmm.
and they keep thinking, oh, it's something else that I have to do. But you do have to feel like, this is it. I've told my story. I've written my self-help book. So that's important. And you know what I really love? Every guest that has been on the book show, they all say the same thing. You have to get it out of you.
Mm-hmm.
You have
Yep.
to get it out of you. Wow.
Just get it out of your head.
Yeah, I mean, every guest has said those same things. You have to get it out of you and onto paper and make it tangible. That's some really good nuggets. So let me ask you, is there something that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you that you would like to share as we kind of wrap up?
um I don't think so. You asked me the very important questions.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
And then we got some questions from our audience, which is good. But this has been some really, really good, solid information. And I hope that people are inspired to, like Miss Corey said, get your books.
Yep.
You so tell us again. I mean, I'll put it in the comments section, your website, the bookstores, all that. But just tell us again just how people can connect and get a hold of your books.
Okay. Just go to my website, www.odessarose.com, and
Okay.
that'll take you everywhere.
Oh, that's easy. That's easy.
Yeah.
Odessa, Odessa
Yep. Yep.
Rose.com.
Yep.
That's real good. And your movie, like how does a person get to see that movie again?
Okay. They can go. It's on Amazon Prime. It's on Apple TV. It's on Tubi. It's a DVD. It's a Blu-ray. You can get it anyway.
Okay.
I know it's on YouTube. You got to pay for it, of course, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
there. Yep.
I did it.
Yep. You did it.
Okay.
That's
And
perfect.
you know what? And I'll when we go back, I'll go and put in like how people can get the movie. You send that to me, then I'll forward that
Okay.
um, um, along with this video. Folks, if you're out there and you got one more burning question, you got Odessa Rose live. You got her here now. So come on. Get your fingers typing and ask her. She's doing phenomenal work. Um, I saw her movie. The first time I ever came in contact with you is when the Black Writers Guild told us about the movie, and it was packed at the center.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
that
packed.
was, yeah, it was,
Yeah, yeah, and it was a dynamic movie, a really good movie, a good story, and all. And I told Odessa that I'm just surprised that I'm just getting her on the book spot, folks.
that's because we're friends. You don't even
Yeah,
think
I
about
mean, I see her, and you
it.
know, and I'm thinking I should have had her on here a while ago. But God has His own timing, doesn't He?
Yes, yes. And
Oh, we got Wilma Brockington here.
uh-oh, there's Wilma. Hey,
Wilma is
Wilma.
so proud of you, Dessa.
Yeah, Wilma be
Absolutely.
staying on me, man. She up there, fronting in front of everybody on here, talking about she proud of me, man. Wilma be on me.
She be on you?
Yes. That's the other thing. If you as far as advice, get somebody like Wilma. Wilma will like, no, that's not it, or yes, that's it. She can pump you up, and she doesn't tear you down. She just say, well, think about that a little more, and then she makes you do things you don't want to do.
Oh, okay.
But it's always good stuff. It's always good stuff.
That's good. So Wilma Brockington, let me make sure I get this right. She is the chairperson of the Black Writers Guild.
Wilma runs the Black Writers
She
Guild. She
runs the Black
she she
Writers Guild.
is she's not the president, but she may as well be.
Yeah. So
She,
so you that are out there, think about becoming a member of the Black Writers
mhm,
Guild.
yep,
And it's an incredible organization. I've been with it for many many years, and I've been exposed to so many great writers, so many great works, and it keeps me inspired. It keeps me
yep,
connected. We have a Zoom once a month. They bring in different speakers to talk on different topics. Well, actually, this month, Odessa, you spoke on how to do an audio book.
yeah. Was it this month? No, it was last month, October.
No, was it October?
I think so. No, it was this month.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't do it in October.
So there go. Okay, Wilma broke it down. She is the communications officer,
Wilma
and
is the pseudo president. It
yeah, it was November. It was
was in
November.
November.
Yeah, it was
Okay, all
November.
right.
Yeah. So first Saturday of the month, folks,
Yeah,
from 1 to 3, 1 to 3, we do a Zoom, and that's the Black Writers Guild. You could type that in and get connected. It's good to have that support. It's good to have that support.
yep.
And I remember the very first meeting that I went to. It was K.L. Brady speaking. Carla Brady.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was the first meeting I went to, and she had her book, The Bum Magnet.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and
Yep.
I was like, man, this place is dynamic. Yeah, this is good. Where have I been all this time?
Yep.
So, and I've never left since then. Okay, 1 to 3. Wilma just confirmed 1 to 3 is when we meet first Saturday of the month. You that are thinking about writing, you want to get some inspiration, want to get some encouragement, definitely come um, on Zoom with us and get connected.
Yep.
Get connected. So I want to
I'm
thank you, Odessa. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for the information you shared. Uh, Folks, please watch this video again. Take some notes down. There were some really good nuggets about getting into the groove of writing, and she talked about her schedule, her life. She's a mother. She's a wife. She's got a lot of things going on, but she can still bring it back to get her writing done. So I believe you can too. So thank you for tuning into the book spot. Odessa, thank you for coming on. Thank you that everything worked well.
yeah.
That's important. That's important. Everything worked well. The lights, everything came
Yes.
together.
And I was going to say, you have to excuse the background because this office is the publishing and the bookstore.
Yeah.
So
Well, you know what? I was looking at that background. I said, well, you know what? I think that is a clear statement of the busyness of your
Yeah.
life there. So I think she might have deliberately did that, you know. Here over here, I got the green screen behind my I got I've covered up a bunch of stuff, but
I can't do it. I'm like, this is me. That nothing else I can do about it.
yeah, you gotta do what works for you. Gotta do
Yep.
what works for you. Well, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Odessa, again.
Thank you for
And
having me.
I appreciate your time. All right, folks, and I'm gonna put some comments also in this link, this video, so you can also have some more ways to reach out to Miss Odessa Rose.
Yep.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.